Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're looking at captaincy for game week 6. As you'll see on screen, I currently have the armband on Haaland with the vice captaincy on Salah. This week I didn't do the preview video, I did a video about Haaland instead. And specifically I made 3 trades this week for a hit. The first trade was to get rid of Neto and to buy Pascal Gross. Now I actually did that the day before Neto dropped from 5.3 million to 5.2. It was actually hours before it happened. So I made 0.1 million on that trade, and then Gross went up the following day by 0.1 million. So we made 0.2 million there. And I made that before the City game, assuming that I had heard the comments from Pep saying that Haaland won't play every 3 games, and considering he had just had his game against Crystal Palace 3 days earlier, I did not suspect him to start against Nottingham Forest, and so I was one of the unfortunate people who didn't captain Haaland or Salah last week. I actually captained KDB, who had a random benching. Gotta love Pep when it comes to FPL. Like, KDB is probably one of the most, he was one of the most nailed people in the Man City team last season when fit. KDB is currently fit. For some reason he was on the bench for the first 64 minutes of the match last week. I saw the team sheet come out. I saw Haaland starting. I saw KDB on the bench. I was at that point going, holy shit, Haaland's at least going to get a couple of attacking returns here. I hope KDB doesn't make it onto the pitch. Of course, KDB comes on for the last 20 minutes to block my vice captaincy on Salah. Scores 1 point, doubled through to 2, and I get absolutely smashed in the rankings. I drop from 278k all the way down to 1.3 million. That's a 1 million rank hit because of this one mistake. Reading into Pep's comments too much. So I had a look at what was going on in the transfer market. Haaland was slated to go up again. KDB wasn't actually going to go anywhere, but I sat down and did some analysis very quickly, and this is why I took the hit to bring Haaland in this week. Now, at this point, I believed Haaland was probably going to be benched against Aston Villa when I took this hit, as I was still relying on that comment from Pep saying that, he's only going to play every 3 days. The reason that I did that is twofold. One, Haaland was owned by 70% of the game at that point. It was just coming up to 71%. It's now 2 days later, and he is actually shot up to 75.8% of all players. So he's gained another 5% of 10 million managers. That's 500,000 managers that have bought Haaland in. Now, a lot of players out there playing FPL will not be aware of Pep's comments. They are not quite as engaged, and so all those players out there probably have no idea that there is some small doubt for Haaland not to start this game week. And so the majority of the 3/4 of the game that actually own Haaland, I'd say in terms of like highly engaged managers that actually know about the Pep comments, probably only like 1 million managers. What do you say, 10%? That might even be too high. And so 65% of Haaland owners are probably going to captain Haaland this week. And by all accounts, he could start this week. And if he does start this week, he probably gets at least 1 attacking return, probably 2, just because of how badly Aston Villa are playing, but also how well Man City have adapted to a new number 9. Pep has worked a system to have all roads ending at Haaland, and Haaland has shown that he can definitely put the ball in the back of the net. So this is why I made that transfer for the hit, thinking that Haaland was probably going to be benched. It was actually a hit to maintain my rank. I cannot have an amazing striker playing for the best team on the planet with one of the greatest managers on the planet in Pep, doing everything that he can with his brilliant footballing mind to get the ball to Haaland up front in front of goal. last week when he scored his hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, he managed to score a perfect hat-trick in 30 minutes. So if you're not sure what a perfect hat-trick is, that's a goal with your left foot, a goal with your right foot, and a goal with your header. A goal with your head, so scoring a header. A perfect hat-trick is to do all that in the first half of the match, and he did it in 30 minutes. And so my decision there was, I don't know if I'm going to captain him, but regardless, I am looking at a loss of about 10 points or more each week to about 75% of the competition. And that is just completely unsustainable for that particular player and that particular team. And that is why I brought him in. I am not going to drop another million ranks just because I am not going to have Haaland. Now, what has changed in the last couple of days? Well, another thought came to mind. Haaland had scored that hat-trick in the first half an hour of the game. At half-time, Man City were coasting. They were cruising against Nottingham Forest. They were up 3-4-0 at that point, I think. And so Haaland, if he was in any doubt or, Pep was seriously considered about him, seriously concerned about Haaland not playing every 3 days, he would have pulled him off at half-time. He wouldn't have sent him back out onto the pitch after the half-time break, but he did, and he sent him out for another 20 minutes. When Haaland came off after that 20 minutes, he came off for KDB, which is kind of irrelevant. It was more just shutting down the game at that point, just coasting through to the victory. But Haaland came off the pitch smiling, energetic, no niggles, no nothing, didn't look tired, didn't look lazy or anything. And so it looks even more likely that he's probably going to start this match. And so I am captaining Haaland this week over the likes of Salah, just in case he starts. And that's it. It's actually a win-win play here. If he is benched, pretty much everyone in the game is going to have him and is going to have him as captain. And so if he gets a small amount of points, it's not going to hurt my rank at all. And I can rely on the other players in my pretty strong team to start climbing the ranks. Haaland has become a shield with this captaincy, meaning I will definitely not drop any ranks because of him. And if he comes out and gets 2 points off the bench, it actually doesn't matter in terms of FPL this week. It'll probably change the conversation a lot for next week, obviously, but most people that own a Haaland out there so far haven't been burnt by it, a missing captain or a captain that's on the bench, and so everyone's probably going to be captaining him this week. And so if you look at the fact that he's an outstanding finisher, playing for the best team on the planet with a manager that is doing everything in his power to get the ball to Haaland in front of goal within that 6-yard box, and he may start, that's enough reason for me to captain Haaland this week. If I had not been burnt by Haaland in the last 2 weeks, not having him and having him just watch him go back-to-back hat-tricks, I may be a little bit more inclined to look at the likes of Salah as a captaincy if I was still sitting at 40k in the world where I was a couple of game weeks ago. But having just seen the drop of 1 million, just 1 million ranks was just in the last game week. Like it's too much to handle. So at this point in the game, I am going to be captaining Haaland as a shield and a protection against rank. One other thing that we should probably keep in mind is when we look at good players in the Premier League, like good strikers or good finishers or good wide men, we look to see, will this player score 20 goals in a season? That's basically the benchmark of a pretty good season. Haaland has scored 9 goals in 5 games. He's already halfway there, and it's only 5 games into the season. This man is absolutely going to shit points. It is ridiculous. And so his price is going to skyrocket. His ownership is going to skyrocket. It's also going to mean that probably no one's ever going to sell Haaland unless there's some sort of serious injury, which I seriously hope doesn't happen, because I would love to see what Haaland can actually do in the Premier League, playing in such an amazing team. But yeah, his ownership's just going to go up. His price is going to keep going up, and the more that his price rises, the less likely people are to sell him, because the loss in value on a sale of Haaland will actually probably price people out of being able to buy Haaland back, and so he'll probably just remain in most people's teams. So if you still do not have Haaland, it may be wise to look at getting him into your team. KDB, the man that I have just sold, he, as I have mentioned, just started on the bench at the weekend, and so he is probably primed to start this fixture against Aston Villa. Aston Villa have been showing in the first 5 game weeks that they are struggling to date, and a big part of where they are conceding a lot of opportunities is actually from set pieces. They look like they do not know how to deal with set pieces at all. And now KDB, being the magician in midfield, pulling the strings, setting up everyone left, right and centre, and being on a lot of set pieces, could be a great captaincy shout this week if you do not own the likes of Haaland, and is someone worth considering, but probably not a better captain option than Salah. Probably. It's actually very close between these two this week. But for the few of you out there that still have De Bruyne, I thought I should talk about him because I have just sold him. I think he's still actually a really good captaincy shout this week. Although Pep has, just for the Man City, just to tie off Man City, Pep has dropped another comment today, or last night, overnight in New Zealand, but regardless, and has said, Haaland is 22 years old and he recovers well. When he's 32, it's a lot more difficult, but at 22, it's not a problem. Now, this was a response in relation to a journalist asking Pep about the fact that he had said a couple of weeks ago that Haaland won't be playing every 3 games, and so Pep has basically just gone straight back and said the complete opposite of what he said a couple of weeks ago. And that might just be because he was quite aware of Haaland's injury problems from last year, and he was probably just working very closely with the physios and Haaland to see how he was progressing game to game. His minutes have been managed in a big way. He's only made 90 minutes once, and that was in the game against Newcastle, where they had to chase down the game to draw 3-3. That's the only time he's made 90 minutes. Every other game he's been pulled off about 65 to 75 odd minutes. And so Pep looks more comfortable that Haaland is recovering after matches quite quickly, and so you'll probably see him start this match and get pulled off at about the 60-65 minute mark in order to be fit and ready for the game against Sevilla in 3 days' time. What we might also see is if Man City are up like 3 or 4-0 at half time, potentially he gets pulled off then as well and doesn't get sent out for that up to that 60-minute mark. But that would only be if the game is dead and buried. Now, Salah is my vice captain for this week. I've gone over all the reasons why I'm captaining Haaland, so we don't need to go back into that. But I would say, if you do not have Haaland in your teams this week, Salah is probably the standout captaincy option for the game week. He could even be a better captaincy shout than Haaland if we think that Haaland doesn't actually start the game. Now, this would be a play to try and gain ranks on your opposition. So I'm captaining Haaland to secure my rank, to make sure I don't drop any further because of Haaland. But if you are flying high up the ranks this game week, what you might like to look at doing is captaining Salah, because there is still maybe like a 30% chance that Haaland does start on the bench this game week, and if he does, he probably only come on in the last 20 minutes of the match if they're chasing the game. Like, if they were already up 3 or 4-0, would they even bother bringing Haaland on against Aston Villa when they know they've got Sevilla in 2 days' time? Potentially not. And so Salah, with 90 minutes against a struggling Everton outfit, could outscore Haaland this week, which would push you up the ranks further than probably about 60 or 70% of the competition that's going to be captaining Haaland. But this is one of those this is one of those plays that you have to consider quite closely. I say choosing Salah is hardly ever a differential captain, and he's a great player playing in a great team. The only drawbacks that I can see for Liverpool at the moment is their injury concerns are, well, quite concerning. On deadline day, Liverpool have even gone to buy Arthur Melo, I think it's Melo, who is not a first team player. He looks like he's a buy to be a squad player, but to also come in for the immediate usage in the team because of injuries throughout the midfield in Liverpool. And so with second stringers on the pitch and players that are being bought in, on deadline day just to fill up the squad in order to field a squad that's a little bit more strong, you could start to question how much ball will get through to Salah. Midfield is obviously your key link or in transition from defence into attack. Now, I do not expect Liverpool would be doing much defending at all in this game. Everton are struggling and will struggle against Liverpool too. But you may find that the ball doesn't get through to Salah as often because of the depleted midfield. Now, Núñez has also served his suspension, and so he is eligible to start this game week. However, Firmino absolutely smashed it last game week. He had an amazing run against. He had an amazing run against Bournemouth, and has been playing quite well without Núñez available for the team. And so Firmino, who knows, he might get the start again just to limit the number of new faces on the pitch in the Liverpool team. It could quite easily work out that Klopp goes, shit, I've just bought Arthur Melo, looks like we're going to have to play the lad. Should I also put on Núñez, who has actually only played about 120 minutes total in first team Premier League football to date, and see what happens? Or should I put in the known quantity in Firmino against Everton just to solidify the attack? I mean, who knows? That could quite easily happen. If Núñez is on the pitch, we don't exactly know how that affects Salah at the moment. What we did see in game one was Salah and Núñez making similar runs to similar spots on the pitch, which is obviously something that they will work out. This is the whole thing with partnerships and playing with new players. When you turn to make a run, you're not looking at other players, you're actually turning to make the run given game state, where the ball is on the pitch, where you are on the pitch and whatnot. And if you turn to make a run and someone else turns to make the run and has actually made the exact same run, in the back of your mind you start thinking, shit, I actually need to check this guy next time to make sure we don't both make the same run. What you probably should be doing is, if Núñez is making the run to where Salah is heading to go and pick up the ball, Salah should probably be making the run towards where Núñez came from, because he would have just left the hole there, rather than both players peeling off and heading towards the same channel. Anyway, that's more of a footballing thing. This is just things that you probably need to think about in terms of how much effect this is going to have on Salah's opportunities to score throughout the match. If you still think he's going to get 5, 6, 7 shots at goal, Salah's going to put a couple of those away, especially against a weakened defence and a weakened team in Everton, and so he could be quite a good differential captain shout this game week. And finally, the only other captaincy shout that I do see for game week 6 is Kane. Now, you've got to feel for Kane owners out there. It is a weird season of FPL. He has got 5 attacking returns in 5 games. Has dropped from 11.5 million to 11.4 million. That happened right at the beginning in game week 1. And I've just checked FPL statistics. It looks like he's actually going to drop in price again in the next 2 days. This is the result of the market and everyone looking at Haaland, or everyone that's got Kane, and looking at Haaland going, I also cannot go without Haaland. And because Kane actually had an okay ownership, the easiest route out is people to sell Kane to jump on Haaland. This is affecting his price. He is going to drop to 11.3 million probably before in the next couple of games, probably not before deadline this week, and so you may want to hold on to Kane until the deadline kicks over and then make the trade if you are thinking about captaining Kane over Haaland. However, Haaland's price is still going up, and so if Kane's going down and Haaland's going up, the variance in price difference there is actually going to grow larger and larger over the coming days, and so the longer you wait to make this move, the more money it's actually going to cost you. And to be honest, I think Haaland's actually going to score more points than Kane anyway, and so you're going to get more points from doing the trade too. However, if you are sticking with Kane, I think he is probably an outstanding differential captain against Fulham at home this week. Kane's on pens, they're playing at home on a large pitch. Fulham, when they travel away from Craven Cottage, which is their home pitch they are used to playing on, is actually quite a small pitch. You will find Fulham will have tired legs close to the end of the match as they run around as if they are running around on a smaller pitch. Kane's an amazing finisher. He's on pens, he's on some set pieces. He's going to get in amongst Fulham. Fulham may even score a goal here as well. I would not put it past Perisic to win a ball in the air over the defence at Spurs and actually nab a goal here. And so Spurs may need to even go out and out attack Fulham, which could push up Kane's prospects for a haul this weekend. He could outscore Haaland. He looks like the most likely alternative captain option this game week that could potentially outscore Haaland, assuming Haaland starts. And so he is definitely someone that I would consider giving the captaincy to this game week. However, if you have Kane and do not own Haaland, it may be wise to just switch over to Kane and actually to switch Kane out to Haaland and captain him this week just to secure your rank and limit any further damage from the man. This is not a perma captain discussion. This is the discussion of captaincy after Haaland has just banged back-to-back hat-tricks. As soon as Haaland blanks or is benched, the conversation will change moving forward. 75% of 10 million managers that have no idea why Haaland has been benched will start to freak out and wonder whether or not they should captain him. And so the stats and EO figures will change in the coming game weeks. This is just for game week 6 after looking at Haaland just go hat-trick in the last 2 game weeks. It's been rough, to be fair. 17 points back to back with captaincies. I have effectively lost out on 68 points in 2 game weeks. My total for the whole season to date is 325 points, and so this is like a fifth of my total that I've just missed out on. I was raging when I saw that team sheet on the weekend. Absolutely raging. Anyway, that's by the by. That is the captaincy video for game week 6. If you did make it this far through the video, please do give this video a like. Hit that big red subscribe button to be notified about more videos coming your way shortly. And if you would like any feedback about anything I've discussed, or if you have any questions that you want answered, I am filtering through comments and getting back to you guys, so drop a comment in the thread below and I will answer as soon as possible. And until next time, I'll catch you again soon. Good luck for the game week.